I was sitting in my office cubicle when my phone buzzed with a text from my stepbrother Jake. "Dad's combine is sold. Buyer picking it up tomorrow." My coffee went cold in my hands as I read those words again. Dad had been gone for 3 months, and his prized John Deere combine harvester was worth over $600,000. I immediately called Jake. "What do you mean it's sold? We never discussed this." "Mom needed the money fast," he said, his voice defensive. "The estate's complicated, and she's the executor." My stepmother Linda had married Dad when I was already in college. She'd always made it clear that I wasn't really family in her eyes, despite Dad's efforts to include me. But this felt like theft. "That combine was Dad's pride and joy," I said, my voice shaking. "He spent 40 years building that farm." "It's just a machine, Marcus. Mom got a good price for it." Just a machine. Those words hit me like a punch to the gut. That combine wasn't just equipment to Dad. It was his legacy, his life's work. He'd saved for years to buy it, worked countless 16-hour days to pay for it. I remembered being 12 years old, standing in the dealership as Dad signed the papers, his eyes bright with pride. "Who bought it?" I asked. "Some farmer from Nebraska. Look, what's done is done." After hanging up, I sat in my cubicle feeling hollow. Dad had always promised that the farm would be mine someday. We'd talked about it during his final weeks in the hospital, but apparently promises meant nothing when money was involved. I decided to drive out to the farm that evening. The farm looked different without Dad's presence. The John Deere sat in the equipment shed like a sleeping giant, its green paint gleaming under the fluorescent lights. I ran my hand along its massive frame, remembering all the times Dad had let me ride with him during harvest season. "She's a beauty, isn't she?" Dad used to say, patting the machine's side like it was a beloved horse. "Took me 30 years to afford her, but she's worth every penny." I climbed up into the cab, settling into the worn leather seat where Dad had spent countless hours. The familiar smell of diesel and old coffee filled my nostrils. Everything was exactly as he'd left it. His thermos in the cup holder, his work gloves on the dashboard, even his lucky baseball cap hanging from the mirror. My phone rang. It was Linda. "Marcus, what are you doing at the farm?" "Saying goodbye to Dad's combine, apparently." "Don't be dramatic. Your father would understand. The farm's losing money and we need to settle debts." "What debts? Dad never mentioned any debts. There are things you don't know about your father's finances." That stung. Dad and I had been close, especially after my mom died when I was 15. He'd raised me alone for 3 years before meeting Linda. We talked about everything: farming, life, dreams. The idea that he'd hidden financial troubles from me felt impossible. "The buyer will be here at 8 tomorrow morning," Linda continued. "Please don't make this harder than it needs to be." After she hung up, I sat in the cab until darkness fell, trying to memorize every detail. Tomorrow, this piece of Dad would be gone forever. Tom Henderson arrived exactly at 8, driving a massive truck with a flatbed trailer. He was a weathered man in his 50s with kind eyes and calloused hands, the kind of farmer Dad would have respected. I watched from the farmhouse porch as Linda handled the paperwork. "Beautiful machine," Tom said, walking around the combine. "Your husband took excellent care of her." "He was obsessive about maintenance," Linda replied curtly. "Everything's in perfect working order." I approached them, unable to stay away. "That combine was my dad's pride and joy." Tom nodded respectfully. "I can tell. These machines are more than equipment to us farmers. They're partners. I promise I'll take good care of her." Something about his sincerity made me feel slightly better. At least Dad's combine was going to someone who understood its value. "Mind if I ask what you paid?" I said. Linda shot me a warning look, but Tom answered honestly. $550,000. Fair price for a machine this well maintained." I felt sick. Dad had paid over $600,000 for it just 5 years ago. Even accounting for depreciation, Linda had undersold it by at least $50,000. But what could I do? The papers were signed. As Tom's crew loaded the combine onto the trailer, I noticed him examining something near the operator's seat. He frowned, then looked up at Linda. "Ma'am, there seems to be a hidden compartment here. Did your husband mention anything about it?" Linda's face went pale. "A what?" Tom pointed to a small panel that had come loose during the loading process. "Looks like there's something inside." My heart started racing. Dad had always been full of surprises. Tom carefully removed the loose panel, revealing a small hidden compartment behind the operator's seat. Inside was a metal box about the size of a shoebox wrapped in plastic. Linda's hands were shaking as Tom handed it to her. "This isn't mentioned in any of the documentation," she said, her voice tight. "Well, it was hidden pretty cleverly," Tom replied. "Your husband was smart about it." I stepped closer. "What's inside?" Linda clutched the box protectively. "That's family business." But Tom, bless him, had a different perspective. "Actually, ma'am, since this was concealed in the machine and I've already paid for it, technically this came with my purchase." He paused, looking between Linda and me. "But I'm not looking to cause family trouble. Why don't we open it together?" Linda had no choice but to agree. We gathered around as she carefully unwrapped the plastic. Inside the metal box were several items: a thick envelope, a small leather journal, and what looked like legal documents. The envelope was addressed in Dad's handwriting, "For Marcus, in case something happens to me." My hands trembled as I took it. Linda's face had gone from pale to ashen. "Dad left this for me," I said quietly. "We should open this privately," Linda insisted, but Tom shook his head. "I think we should see what's in there right now. Something tells me this might affect our transaction." I looked at the envelope, Dad's familiar handwriting bringing tears to my eyes. Whatever was inside, he'd wanted me to find it. I carefully opened the seal. Inside were several documents and a handwritten letter. As I unfolded the letter, my world shifted. "Marcus, if you're reading this, then something's happened to me and Linda's probably trying to sell the farm. I hope I'm wrong, but I've learned some things about her that worry me. Son, I need you to know the truth about our finances and about why I hid this box." My voice caught as I read Dad's words aloud. Linda tried to grab the letter, but Tom gently blocked her. "First, the farm isn't in debt. In fact, we're doing better than ever. I've been hiding money from Linda because I discovered she's been stealing from the farm accounts. I have proof in this box. Second, I changed my will 3 months before I died, but I hid the new version because I suspected Linda might try to destroy it." I looked up at Linda, whose face had gone completely white. "Is this true?" "Your father was paranoid in his final months," she stammered. The medication made him confused. But I continued reading. "The new will leaves everything to you, Marcus. The farm, the equipment, everything. Linda gets the house and a reasonable settlement, but she's not the executor. My lawyer, Bill Thompson, has the original. The copy in this box is for your protection." Tom whistled low. "Well, this changes things. I also want you to know that I hid money in 3 places on the farm. The locations are in my journal. I saved over $200,000 that Linda doesn't know about. It's yours, son. Use it to keep the farm running and to fight for what's rightfully yours." The letter continued with specific instructions about contacting the lawyer and where to find the hidden money. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the paper. "This is impossible," Linda said. "He never mentioned changing his will." But deep down, I knew it was true. This was exactly something Dad would do. Tom set down his coffee cup and looked at Linda seriously. "Ma'am, I think we need to pause this transaction until this gets sorted out." "You can't do that," Linda protested. "We have a signed contract." "A contract based on your authority as executor," Tom replied calmly. "If this will is legitimate, you might not have had the right to sell this machine." I was still processing Dad's letter when I opened his journal. The first entry was dated 6 months before his death. Caught Linda transferring money from the equipment fund to her personal account again. She thinks I don't notice, but I've been tracking every penny. Total stolen so far, $47,000. My stomach dropped. I flipped through more entries, each one documenting Linda's theft. Dad had been building a case against her for months. "Let me see that," Linda demanded, reaching for the journal. "I don't think so," I said, stepping back. "Tom's right. We need to call Dad's lawyer before anything else happens." I pulled out my phone and dialed Bill Thompson's office. Miraculously, he answered on the second ring. "Bill, this is Marcus Peterson. I need to ask you about Dad's will." "Marcus, I've been trying to reach you for weeks. Your stepmother told me you didn't want to be involved in the estate." I looked at Linda, who was now backing toward her car. "That's not true. I never said that." "Well, we need to talk immediately. Your father did change his will, and there are some serious irregularities with how the estate's being handled." Tom was watching this unfold with the fascination of someone witnessing a family drama that was better than any TV show. "Can you come to the farm right now?" I asked Bill. "I'll be there in 30 minutes. Bill Thompson arrived in his old Ford pickup, looking every bit the small-town lawyer who'd known our family for decades. He took one look at the scene. The combine half-loaded on Tom's trailer, Linda pacing nervously, and me holding Dad's hidden documents, and shook his head. "I should have come out here weeks ago," he said. "Linda, you've been avoiding my calls." "I've been busy handling the estate," she replied defensively. "No, you've been liquidating assets you have no right to sell." Bill's voice was stern. "Marcus, your father came to me 3 months before he died. He was very concerned about financial irregularities and wanted to change his will immediately." He pulled out a folder from his truck. "The new will is very clear. You inherit the farm, all equipment, and all livestock. Linda gets the house and $50,000. She was never named as executor. I am." Linda's face crumpled. "This is ridiculous. I was his wife for 15 years. And according to his documentation, you stole nearly $60,000 from the farm accounts during that time," Bill replied matter-of-factly. "He was planning to confront you after harvest season, but his heart attack changed everything." Tom cleared his throat. "So what does this mean for our transaction?" "It means the sale is void," Bill said. "Linda had no authority to sell this equipment." I felt a mixture of relief and anger. Relief that Dad's combine would stay where it belonged, and anger that Linda had tried to steal my inheritance. "There's more," Bill continued. "Your father left detailed instructions about hidden assets on the property. He was quite thorough in protecting your future." I showed him Dad's journal and the letter. Bill nodded as he read. "Yes, this matches everything he told me. Marcus, your father loved you deeply and wanted to ensure you could continue his legacy. Following Dad's journal, we found the first hidden cache in the old grain silo. Behind a loose panel, wrapped in waterproof bags, was $73,000 in cash. Linda watched in stunned silence as I counted the bills. "He was always paranoid about banks," I explained to Tom, who'd decided to stick around for the treasure hunt. Said farmers needed to keep some cash on hand for emergencies. The second location was in the barn's foundation. Dad had hollowed out a section of the concrete wall and hidden another $68,000. His journal entry for this location read, "Emergency Fund Number 2. If the banks fail or Linda tries to clean out our accounts, Marcus will have what he needs to keep farming." The third cache was the largest, nearly $70,000, hidden in a false bottom of his old tool chest. Each location had been carefully waterproofed and documented in his journal with precise measurements and landmarks. "Over $200,000, I said, sitting on a hay bale as the reality sank in. Dad was planning for this exact scenario. Bill nodded. Your father was a smart man. He knew Linda's character better than anyone realized. Linda finally spoke up. I never meant for things to go this far. The farm was struggling, and I was just trying to help. By stealing? I asked. Dad's journal shows the farm was profitable. You were taking money for yourself. She couldn't meet my eyes. I made mistakes, but I loved your father. Love doesn't steal, Tom said quietly. I've seen this before. Family members who think they're entitled to more than they deserve. Bill was reviewing the legal documents. Marcus, there's something else. Your father included a provision that if Linda contested the will or attempted to liquidate assets improperly, she'd forfeit her inheritance entirely. Linda's face went pale again. What does that mean? It means you get nothing, Bill said simply. Linda broke down completely. I can't lose everything. This farm is my home too. You should have thought about that before you started stealing, I said, surprised by the hardness in my own voice. Dad trusted you, and you betrayed that trust. I was scared, she sobbed. After your father got sick, I was terrified of being left with nothing. I've never worked outside the home. I don't know how to support myself. Tom shifted uncomfortably. This family drama was getting intense, but he seemed reluctant to leave. Dad provided for you, I said, showing her the will. $50,000 and the house. That's generous considering what you did. But now I get nothing because I tried to sell the combine. Bill nodded. The forfeiture clause is very specific. Any attempt to liquidate farm assets without proper authority triggers the penalty. I looked at Linda, really looked at her. She was 58 years old, had been married to my father for 15 years, and despite everything, she was still family of sorts. Dad wouldn't have wanted her to be homeless. Bill, what if we modified the agreement? She keeps the house but gives up any claim to cash or assets. Linda looked up hopefully. You'd do that? Dad wouldn't want you on the street, I said, but you need to understand this is my farm now. You can live in the house, but you have no say in farm operations. Bill considered this. It's your decision, Marcus. The will gives you that authority. Tom finally spoke up. For what it's worth, that's more generous than most people would be. Linda nodded through her tears. I accept. And Marcus, I'm sorry. I was wrong about everything. It wasn't forgiveness exactly, but it was a start. Tom and his crew unloaded the combine back into the equipment shed. You know, he said, I'm actually glad this worked out this way. That machine belongs here. I appreciate you being so understanding, I said. Most people would have demanded to keep what they paid for. Farming's about more than money, Tom replied. It's about legacy and doing what's right. Your dad raised you well. After Tom left, I stood alone in the equipment shed with Dad's combine. The hidden compartment was still open, a reminder of how much my father had loved and protected me even after death. Bill helped me set up new bank accounts and transfer the farm's assets into my name. Your father left detailed instructions for everything, he said. He even included a business plan for the next 5 years. That evening, I sat in Dad's old recliner and read through his journal completely. Beyond documenting Linda's theft, it was full of farming wisdom, memories of our time together, and his hopes for the farm's future. One entry, written just weeks before his death, brought tears to my eyes. Marcus has a good heart and a strong work ethic. He'll make this farm better than I ever could. I just need to make sure he gets the chance. I called my girlfriend Sarah and told her everything. So, you're a farmer now? She asked. I guess I am. Dad left me everything I need to succeed. Including a $600,000 combine harvester? Including that? I laughed. Want to come out and see the farm? I'll be there tomorrow. For the first time in months, I felt hopeful about the future. The next morning, I quit my office job. My boss thought I was crazy to leave a steady paycheck for farming, but I knew Dad had left me more than just land and equipment. He'd left me a calling. Sarah arrived that afternoon, and I gave her the full tour. She'd visited the farm before, but now she was seeing it through different eyes. "It's bigger than I remembered," she said, standing in the middle of the cornfield. 240 acres, I said proudly. Dad bought it piece by piece over 30 years. We found Linda packing boxes in the farmhouse. She looked up when we entered. "I'll be out by the end of the week," she said quietly. "I found a small apartment in town." "There's no rush," I said. "Take your time." She paused in her packing. "Marcus, I want you to know that your father talked about you constantly. He was so proud of you. Even when I was working in the city instead of farming. Especially then. He said you needed to see the world before you could appreciate what you had here." That evening, Sarah and I sat on the farmhouse porch as the sun set over the fields. "Are you sure about this?" she asked. "Farming's a hard life." "Dad's journal has everything mapped out," I said. "The farm's profitable, the equipment's in great shape, and I have enough cash reserves to handle any problems." "What about us? I can't exactly commute to my job from here." I'd been thinking about that all day. "There's a veterinary clinic in town that's looking for help. It's not the same as your city practice, but it would be a new adventure," she finished. "With you." I took her hand. Dad always said farming was better with a partner. She squeezed my fingers. "Then I guess we're doing this." 3 months later, I was sitting in Dad's combine, beginning my first harvest as the farm's owner. Sarah rode with me, learning about farming while helping spot any problems with the equipment. "It's like a giant vacuum cleaner," she said, watching the corn disappear into the machine. "Dad always said it was the most expensive vacuum in the county." I laughed. The combine ran perfectly, just as Dad had maintained it. Every system worked flawlessly, and I could almost feel his presence guiding me through the process. Tom Henderson called that evening. "How's the harvest going?" "Better than expected. Dad's maintenance records were incredible. Everything's running like new." "That's good to hear. You know, I've been thinking about our situation. I'd like to help you out if you need anything. Your father sounds like he was a good man." He was. "And thank you. That means a lot." Bill Thompson stopped by during the second week of harvest. "I have some good news," he said. "I've recovered most of the money Linda stole. She's been cooperative about returning what she can." "How much?" $43,000. She'd already spent the rest, but this helps. I was grateful for any recovery, but more importantly, it felt like justice for Dad. Linda came by one afternoon, bringing fresh baked cookies. "I wanted to see how you were doing," she said. "Good. Really good, actually. Your father would be proud. You look like him when you're working." It was the first time since Dad's death that Linda and I had a normal conversation. Maybe healing was possible after all. By winter, Sarah had taken the job at the local veterinary clinic and moved into the farmhouse with me. We'd converted Dad's old office into a planning room with maps of the fields and crop rotation schedules covering the walls. "What's this?" Sarah asked, pointing to a section of Dad's journal I hadn't shown her before. "His 5-year expansion plan," I said. "He wanted to buy the Henderson farm when old Pete retired." "Tom Henderson's father?" "Yeah. Pete's been talking about selling for years. Dad thought we could eventually farm 400 acres. Sarah studied the numbers. "It looks financially feasible, especially with the money you found." Dad thought of everything. He even researched new equipment we'd need and projected crop yields. That evening, Tom called with interesting news. "Dad's decided to retire next spring. He's asking if you're interested in buying his farm." My heart raced. "How much is he asking?" $300,000 for the land and equipment. It's a fair price." I looked at Sarah, who nodded encouragingly. "Can I think about it?" "Of course. But Dad likes you, and he'd rather sell to someone he trusts than put it on the open market." After hanging up, I pulled out Dad's journal and read his expansion plans again. He'd calculated that buying the Henderson farm would increase our annual profit by 60% within 3 years. "We should do it," Sarah said. "Your dad did all the research." "It's a big risk. So was hiding money in grain silos," she laughed. "But your dad was right about everything else." I made the decision that night. We were going to expand. 6 months later, I signed the papers to buy the Henderson farm. Pete Henderson shook my hand with tears in his eyes. "Your father would be proud," he said. "He always dreamed of farming this much land." Tom stayed on as a partner, helping manage the expanded operation. "It's like your dad planned this whole thing," he said as we walked the new fields together. Maybe he did. He always said farming was about thinking generations ahead. Sarah and I were married that fall, with the ceremony in the farmhouse where Dad had raised me. Linda came to the wedding, and we danced to Dad's favorite song while his combine sat gleaming in the background. "He's here with us," Sarah whispered as we swayed to the music. "I know," I said, looking out at the fields that stretched to the horizon. This is exactly what he wanted. The farm now covers 400 acres, just as Dad had envisioned. We've added new equipment and hired 2 part-time workers. The hidden money Dad left has been invested back into the operation, creating the sustainable future he'd dreamed of. Sometimes, when I'm harvesting in the early morning light, I swear I can hear Dad's voice over the rumble of the combine. "She's a beauty, isn't she, son?" "Yes, Dad, she really is." Thank you for listening to this story about family, legacy, and the surprises our loved ones leave behind. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Please let me know what part of the world you're listening from, and if this story touched your heart, please consider subscribing to our channel for more incredible true stories. Until next time, remember that sometimes the greatest treasures are hidden in the most unexpected places.